Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Beyond the Pitch. I'm Kristian Jack. My guest on this week's episode is Alistair Johnston, as we do our continued 7-part series, as we talk behind the scenes with some of these Canadian men's national team players in an enormous time for the men's game here in this country. Honduras on Thursday at home, followed by the United States away in Nashville on Sunday, and a return leg the following week on the 8th against El Salvador. Now, if you don't know too much about Alistair Johnston, or even if you do, I suggest you stick around for the next 25 minutes in what is one of the most candid, eye-opening interviews you will hear from one of these athletes on this squad. I knew Alistair for a little bit a couple of years ago, and many of you may remember him when he played for Vaughan Azzurri in the Canadian Championship against Canadian Premier League team Halifax Wanderers at the time. Alistair has then since been drafted by Nashville. He had to wait a number of times to get his debut. Obviously, during the pandemic, Nashville weren't able to play in the MLS's back tournament because of an outbreak of COVID-19. He eventually got his debut in August of 2020 and has only had his first call-up this year for Canada, and he's since had 10 caps. It has become what he describes in my interview as a meteoric rise. He's already got 10 caps for the national team, and we talk about his journey and now being an integral part of John Herdman's back three or back four. Alistair's story is fascinating. He talks about playing football with his brothers in the Canadian winters in the basement, waking up early to watch the Premier League games, his love for Manchester United, not having sleepovers because he just wants to watch and play football. This guy is an absolute football nut. One of the many reasons why he and I got along so well during our conversation. Is a fascinating, eye-opening discussion into Alistair Johnston's life as a footballer now for Nashville and Canada. Sit back, enjoy. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did, and I'll be back after the interview. Alistair, great to see you as usual. Big smile on your face. Things are well with you, I'm sure. It's been a whirlwind year or so, but how's things treating you there in Nashville and getting ready for the Canadian World Cup qualifiers?
Oh, thanks for having me, Kristian. Everything's going pretty well. I think just us as an entire group, as Canadian players and as fans, I've heard from a lot of family members and friends that everyone's super excited for all this that's happening. It's going to be a real busy next 7 months. So yeah, no, just super excited. And I think the biggest thing for us is obviously playing in these octagonal games, is finally getting to really play in a match that, it kind of feels like, okay, we're on the precipice now of doing something big, and also getting to play in front of fans again, in front of our Canadian supporters is going to be huge. For me being a new guy to the group, I've never actually had the opportunity to play at BMO or at BC Place or any of these places in front of a crowd, Canadian crowd. So that's going to be something really enjoyable. It'll be a little bit different playing Honduras or El Salvador at BMO rather than playing, whoever we were playing down in Chicago. So we're excited for that for sure.
Yeah, you should be. It's a fascinating look really into the year that you've had, is it not? I mean, I think about your, I don't want to call it a meteoric rise because you've been on our radar for those of us who cover the game for some time, but it is only just a year or so ago since you really made your debut, your delayed debut for Nashville because of obviously the COVID outbreak and the bubble and obviously the delayed season. And then you've had a 2021 year where you've already got 10 international caps. You've been an enormous part of this group. You're not just on the periphery, you're starting at the back. The back three seems to really suit you. Just before we get into all of that stuff, how has this been? Have you got your feet on the ground? How's life treating you this past year?
No, it's a meteoric rise is taking it lightly. It's been a whirlwind, I'll tell you what. To think about it, going to my first camp in January with mainly just the MLS guys and thinking, okay, and I was nervous, man. This is my first time getting to be around, some of the older guys who have been around the league for a long time, the Canadian guys. So I was really nervous for that. Then to think 6 months down the road, I'd have 10 caps under my belt, like already double-digit caps within 6 months. You just think about that pace. I kept that going. In 10 years, I have 200. I mean, that's some Christine Sinclair numbers right there. So, it's been pretty crazy. This whole past 18 months, just from getting drafted to now, has been just insanity is the easiest way to put it, simplest way. But with Canada, it's been so much fun. This group's been great at taking me under their wing. And that's kind of the cool part, is that as young as I am, I'm still older than Joe David and Alfonso and Tajon Buchanan, all these guys that are also kind of coming through. So it's one of those weird ones. And I think the best way to put it was last camp. I just remember a couple of guys going up and someone had mentioned my age, like, oh, Alistair, you're still 22, right? When do you turn 23? And everyone else was like, I think it was Vittoria was going, you're 22. What are you talking about? And it was just funny seeing that. I mean, I think it was Daniil Henry as well. He's like, I can't believe that you are younger than Kamal Miller. Stuff right. Like that. It's just, So it is weird like that, is that as young as I am and as new as I am to the professional game, is that within this group, I'm not even really the youngest at all. I mean, you look at guys like Theo Corvino and guys like that who are, I mean, holy crap, you guys are younger than my younger brother and stuff,
Right.
So it's kind of weird like that. But no, it's been unbelievable being a part of this group and kind of being a part of this golden generation, as some would probably say within the media that's coming through right now. It's just a super exciting time to be a Canadian footballer, I think. And I think it's a super exciting time to be a Canadian football fan. So, we're hoping that these next couple of months will really show what we're about and show that, can be a footballing country, and that we're taking the right steps to, not just making 2026 a reality, but, hey, why not 2022? Why not us?
Why not us? Indeed. I think it speaks to your level of maturity. Maybe that people think you may be a little bit older than you are.
Yeah.
Maybe that comes into that as well. That's how you are off the pitch. How has this past year helped you on it? Because confidence is obviously enormous, right? Like you come up as a draftee, you get a great start in Nashville. I know it's an expansion team, but there's so much continuity already there, right? With all the real leaders there and what Gary Smith's brought you. And then now the continuity with the Canadian national team. You mentioned the whirlwind rise, the 10 caps. How has that helped you every single time you step on the white line, over the white line?
I think that to a degree, I think looking at how it affected us, it honestly really helped me. It gave me a 3-month period where I was like, okay, I had a couple of months then with the team at that point with Nashville, and I kind of learned, okay, this is where I'm going to fit in, and this is what I need to do and improve on in order to, become someone that's in that 18 or in that starting 11. So that 3 months kind of really let me reflect on it and go out and train on my own and really focus on those things. And it gave me a chance to, once we came back and started doing individual sessions, it gave me a ton of time in front of the coaching staff to show them, yeah, you know what, this kid can play and he does belong. And then as we progressed into small groups and eventually full team training, they felt way more comfortable with, really giving me a chance to kind of taking the reins off me, which was great. I think that's one of the biggest things for Gary Smith, is that if you're going to be on the field, he's got to trust you 100%. He's got to trust you. And that was great for me, is that I was able to earn his trust, over those first couple of months. And then obviously the first couple opportunities you're on the field as a young guy, you got to make it count. You really got to take your chance and run with it. And I think I did that, which was great. And, I always knew that with how Canada was kind of set up, especially with how the defenders kind of work, is that if you're getting solid minutes, you're starting and you're showing that you belong in the MLS, you're going to get a call at some point that, they're watching you. And so that was always kind of in the back of my mind. I was never really too focused on what John Herdman was thinking. It was always one of those, I've never been into a youth national team camp. I barely was even in the provincial program at all. So it's one of those ones, and it's like, hey, I just focus on my club soccer, good things will happen. And it was unbelievable when I got the call from him. I remember it was just around my birthday, around October time. He's been monitoring me and he wants me to come in for that January camp. And I was like, oh my goodness, okay, things are really starting to happen now. And I kind of took that same mindset into Canada, that, at that January camp, hey, let's go in. Nothing's given, everything's earned. So, let's go in and show that I belong. And I think, and just prove to him that he's someone that he can trust, because at the end of the day, it's the same thing. You're going down, you're going to go play in the Azteca. You're going to go play in these crazy places in front of 70,000, 100,000 crazy fans. You just need people out there that you can trust and, are going to be given 100% for the badge. So that was kind of something that I wanted to prove to him and the rest of the players. And hopefully that's something that I've kind of shown. And I think that it's definitely something that's come across pretty well, whether it has or not fully, but, he's giving me my chance, which has been amazing. And here in Nashville, I've kind of taken that confidence of now being a full international player and then brought it back to my club side. And they kind of do go hand in hand, that confidence that you get from going up against that Mexican national team and going toe to toe with them, and then you come back and you're playing TFC. So, screw these guys, there's no reason why I can't play with these guys either. It's really brought that level of self-confidence up. So yeah, I think they've really gone hand in hand, and it's only helped me develop as a player for sure.
Absolutely fascinating. Such a well-grounded answer as well. And I think, as you alluded to, you have been not just a member of the team, you've been a massive part of this defense. They changed their back three a lot of times. I know sometimes on the fly, you go to a 4 during that time as well.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about your role there, because I remember you a little bit when you were played in League One in the Canadian Championship, and correct me if I'm wrong. I thought more of you, a bit more of a midfielder at that time. You're good on the ball, comfortable. How have you adapted quickly to getting into that right back position? And now sometimes, Alistair, you're not just a right back; you're a right-sided centre back in a 3. How's that been?
Honestly, I think it's been the perfect fit for me, to be honest. When you really look about where I fit on a footballing pitch. Growing up, I played as a six my entire life. And yeah, you would have seen that when we played Halifax, that I was kind of a smasher, a six that wanted to get on the ball and spray it, hit diags, get physical, go win headers. But at the same time is that when I went down to college, I played center mid for my first 3 years. Going to my fourth year, they're kind of like, you know what? Alistair's got some juice to him. He can run, he can open up those legs. And they always kind of felt like I was kind of caged in a little bit in the midfield. So then I just remember they tried me out at right back, and it was unbelievable. I mean, I was overlapping, bombing, and it was really a freeing moment, is that, I can still come inside and hit diags and do that kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed that. And that's what got me into the league, thankfully. But at the same time then is, I'll still never forget this call. John Herdman called me. We were going into one of the World Cup qualifying camps. And he went, "Hey, have you ever played center back in a back three?" And I was like, I definitely never have. But how do I word this where he doesn't go, "Oh boy, this is not the guy for us," but also tell him, I don't want to lie to him. I was like, it's something that we've tested before. I was kind of giving it large a little bit with that, but it was funny. I kind of tried to lead him on to think that it's something I could do, because it was something I was excited by. I've seen teams around the MLS do it. And I think once I saw Kamal Miller get traded to Montreal, and I saw, how comfortable he looks in that left side center back. He's a guy I played with growing up my entire life. And I'm like, our skill sets are kind of similar to a degree, in that sense that he's a center back, but he's really good on the ball, and he's a really good ball passer, and this kind of freedom. So it was one of those ones I was like, this would be the ideal role for me. In a back four, playing as a center back, you could probably argue, maybe a little too small. I'd like to say I'm 5'11" and a half. You could round that up to 6 foot if I'm playing center back if needed. But, as an outside center back, it's not really as much of a worry in terms of that, because I'm still pretty good in the air. I'm solid in the air, and I love to defend. But at the same time is that this gives me so much freedom that, and it's something that John has pushed me, is that, hey, no, you get it. He was even saying, like, I want to experiment with you at that position. I want you overlapping Richie. And I was like, man, an overlapping center back, like, has this ever been seen before? Like, other than like maybe Sheffield last year or 2 years ago, you could say. And he was like, yeah, no, this is something I want to do. And I think you're the perfect kind of player profile for that. So I was, excited to hear that. I mean, you're hearing that from your national team gaffer. I mean, it's hard not to get like, okay, he's got a plan for me. He's been thinking about this. That's a cool one. So yeah, just going in there and getting that opportunity to play that position, it was something that, I was really excited by. And I think it's worked really well for me, is that it really is kind of brought me back to my roots as a six, as well as a defensive midfielder, where I'm coming into more central spots, but then also allowing me to have the freedom to go out and defend in the channel and go and just be super aggressive. And when we're in that back three, it really allows your center backs to go, hey, one of us step hard in that midfield, the ball's in there, you want to go win it, go hard. Because you got two guys covering you, and you also have two fullbacks. So it's been a position that I've really enjoyed. And I think as I've developed tactically, I think that's been a huge thing for me, is that I've played now as a right back in a 4. I've played as a right wing back in a 5, and I play as a right side center back in a 5. So I think for me, you look at it, I'm a year and a half into my professional career and playing all these different positions. It's only helping me as my understanding of the game. And, just that's been such a big thing for me, is that at the end of the day, I'm a soccer nerd is what a lot of guys call me, but, I just love the game, and I want to develop tactically. You want to really reach that full potential, reach that, tap into that untapped potential. So that's something that I feel like I've been able to do this past 18 months in terms of playing these different positions. And it's something I've really enjoyed. So I'm hoping, that it will keep that going potentially, whether, we stick with the back three or not with Canada. But another thing that you guys have probably noticed is that we will defend sometimes in a back 4. Then we'll attack out in a back 3. So just these fluid motions within a game, I think it's something that a lot of teams don't even think about. But again, I mean, our coaching staff of Canada has been unbelievable with that kind of stuff. They go, yeah, first 15 minutes, we're going to build out in a back 3. We're going to defend in the back 5. But then 15 minutes in, we're going to switch. We're going to press into a 4-4-2. And I think for guys like me who just love that kind of stuff, it's like, yeah, you eat it up. So yeah, no, it's been great. All that kind of stuff. And I'm guessing that John's definitely got a couple more things up his sleeve that we'll probably see in this next window.
Yeah, it was an absolute clinic, wasn't it, in versatility of tactics against Mexico, the way you guys kept switching it around. And that was definitely a massive factor in that, you guys going toe-to-toe for them and obviously, deserving more than you got. I want to get back to the Gold Cup and your journey there in a second, but, you called yourself a football nerd or a soccer nerd and how much you love the game. Where does that come from, Alistair? I know you had 2 big moves as a kid. What was it? Vancouver to Montreal to Aurora. I love this sport too. I've been trying to cover this sport now for almost 20 years here, but where did your love for the sport come from when a lot of kids go to other directions like hockey or the NFL?
I think being raised in a British household made it was a pretty simple one. I mean, my dad was a huge footballer growing up, and then my mom was born in Northern Ireland, so it's just something that we've always kind of just grown up in. I mean, I can remember ever since a kid, like, like everyone would go out like or have sleepovers, but I was like, I don't want to have a sleepover. I want to wake up and watch United play at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. Like
Yeah.
that was always kind of our thing. And honestly, one of the biggest things that ever happened was moving to the eastern coast, just because of in Toronto, 3 hours ahead versus I'm trying to watch football on 4 a.m. on a Saturday morning. It was a bit tough, but on the East Coast time, it's a little bit better. So just stuff like that. I just grew up in a household where, yeah, weekends, me and my younger brother, we would just watch Premier League all the time. And then, so we weren't allowed to watch television during the school week. That was a big thing for my mom. None of that. So we were always outside playing in our backyard. But then we eventually worked into my mom, like, okay, but if it's a big sporting event, like big soccer game, we want to watch this, then obviously Champions League Tuesday, Wednesday, Europa League Thursdays, and then Saturday. Sometimes you get a Friday afternoon kickoff as well. So like we pretty much had it worked out where we were able to watch as much as we wanted, but that was just something that we enjoyed. I mean, I loved just to watch the game as a fan, but also just to dissect things and see what, other teams were doing. And that's kind of always been something that, that I've, it's just been part of my DNA. Just whenever we could, we were out in our backyard kicking around. And then, the Canadian winters, we had an unfinished basement down there. We put a little bow net down there and we'd just be ripping balls all winter long down there too. So it's just something that I grew up in. It was just kind of our culture. And, I wouldn't change it for the world, to tell you that much.
That's awesome. I know when I watch you play, and I know speaking to you for a little bit before this, I can tell you watch the games. You could just tell some players that just that they're that understanding. A lot of coaches in North America have told me they still want more of their players. They love the sport, but they don't watch enough.
Mm-hmm.
And you can learn still so much. I mean, you mentioned United. Is that your team, Man United? I think.
Yeah, I'm a Man United fan.
Yeah,
I'm a Man United fan.
I thought so. But just watching them or any level of it, Europa League, no matter what it is, you can pick up so many things to improve your game. I'm sure you've watched a lot of right-sided defenders and thought, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was one of the ones that kind of sold John, I think, on playing me that position. Is he went, hey, like, when we're thinking about playing you that right side center back in a back three, like, how do you think it would do? And it was funny because I'd watched Chelsea, I think, the day before, and I can't remember what they played, but they had gone with Reece James and the César Azpilicueta and those kind of those roles, and they've been rotating, flip-flopping. I was like, honestly, I think that I could do exactly what Azpilicueta does. I feel like our games are very similar to a degree like that. I'd like to think I'm a little faster than him, and he's probably a little smarter than me. Fair enough. I'll give him that.
That's
played
fair.
at the top level. Played at the top level for a little while. But, it's one of those ones I was like, hey, like, I think I could kind of do what Azpilicueta does with Chelsea. He's like, honestly, that was the exact player profile we have for you. So it's kind of cool stuff like that when you can tell people that also really watch the game when they feel that someone else has that same knowledge and that same desire to learn, like, how much more open they are with giving information and stuff like that. Like it was a cool moment, having moments like that. Cause there's tons of guys still around the world and in this league that, you ask them about a player or a team and they go, who's that? What league were you even talking about? And it's like weird to me that, this is your profession. This is what you love to do, but you don't love watching the game. It just seems it's still a weird one to me. I've never truly grasped that. But I guess you could say I'm on one end of the spectrum with that kind of stuff. So, I'll leave it at that with that kind of stuff.
That's totally fine. So you appreciate more than most then this starting to feel real. World Cup qualifying, final CONCACAF round, prelims are done. No disrespect, but the Cayman Islands and Aruba, I know there'll always be special games for you. Your debut, your first goal, that's special moments. But this is real now, isn't it? This is big. This is big time. I'm sure it's something you can't wait to play.
Yeah, I think those games, they were great to get out of the way, especially for a young guy who was uncapped, all that kind of stuff. And I think as a young group, I think it was great for us to go through those and see some places that you're going to go to CONCACAF. And going on the road to play in Haiti in a home and away, I mean, seeing that country, seeing all the devastation they've been through, it really put things in perspective. It's like, hey, there is a ton of very difficult away places to go in CONCACAF. And I think it hardened us a little bit, I think as us being such a young group, it's really important for us to go down and play those kind of games. Yeah, the Cayman Islands and stuff like that, of course, maybe not the most difficult ones, but at the same time, it's that, just being out there wearing the Canadian badge, it kind of puts that sense of pride. And once you start to feel that and you get a little taste of it, you want so much more, and you keep, it's kind of like, it's that drug you can't stop once you get a little bit of it. And so I think, combined with that, with the places of going to places like Haiti and just kind of hardening the group and understanding, okay, you know what, if you want to get through the CONCACAF, you got to go to Honduras. You got to go to Costa Rica. You got to go to Panama. You got to go to these difficult places and win. You got to go to the Azteca. You got to go to the Azteca and win or get results. So, I think that was great for us is maybe not as challenging as some of the games were. I think just still mentally getting through that has been huge. And I think the biggest thing for us as well is probably a lot of people going into that. We're just thinking, okay, 2026, that's kind of what this Canadian group should be looking for. But I think what we've shown over the past 8 months is that, 2026 is going to happen and we're excited for that. But there's no reason why 2022 should be out of our grasp. If we take care of business and play the way we can, there's all the confidence in this group that, we can make that dream into reality. So that's something, that we're really excited to get started with. And I think that just all the momentum that this game has had in this country over the past couple of years. I mean, you just look at what the Canadian women's national team's doing. I mean, winning a gold medal, it's unbelievable what they've done, inspired a nation, inspired our group too. I know it's pretty special what they've done. And we look at it as like, okay, they're doing that. We got to go and do something too. We got to step up our level too. So what would be better than qualifying for 2022? I mean, I can't think of anything bigger or better. So, that's just something we're all really excited for, and to play in front of our fans again. I mean, just over the moon with that.
Yeah, and that's coming up real soon. What I love about this group too is that, Mark Anthony Kaye's been a big backer of this. I spoke to Samuel Piet about it, is that you're not shying away from it, right? It's like a goal that you're like, oh, we might get there. It's not, there's real belief when I speak to each and every one of you that this is not could happen. This is going to happen. And that's the mindset that's shifted within this group. And I guess that speaks to as well to the real camaraderie that you have, right? I guess it as an outsider, and obviously that's all I can speak of, but I'll get a little bit of insight. It feels real. You get some groups that say, yeah, we're tight. And then, close the curtain and behind the closed doors, it all falls down like a deck of cards, right? Like it's a facade. This feels real. That you guys are tight, as John Herdman would call you, a band of brothers.
Yeah, and I think that's spot on. And I think it really comes down to the fact that we have such a good group of leaders that have been through tough times, I'd say. When you look at that group, some of those older guys who have been around, and guys were around for when they lost to Honduras, went down to Honduras and got battered. Guys have seen that stuff and have struggled in Gold Cups and really struggled in World Cup qualifying. And then to have this new young generation coming through that is extremely talented, but that older group also sees like, wow, what they can bring to this group as well is unbelievable. So there's been a great mesh in terms of, we look up to those older guys like, wow, like Jonathan Osorio, like Samuel Piet. I mean, all these guys, also Milan Borjan, all these guys that have been over there, Victoria, who have just done so much for this program, given so much, but haven't really been able to reap the rewards. Is that us young guys go, wow, we could do this for ourselves, but if we get to help these guys who have just been absolutely grinding for the past decade or so in this program, really achieve the goals that we've set out to from day one. And now you could say there are realistic, it's not that false hope that we can make that World Cup. There really is, that true belief. And I think that's also, it's kind of switched that I'd say maybe a year ago, it was more, it would be amazing if we made it. And now it's more, it would be almost a disappointment if we didn't make it. And I think that's a sign of a good group that's like, no, we truly do feel like we belong. And I think that what we did at the Gold Cup while still missing some of those big guys, I mean, you look at that roster and you see like Tesho Akindele came off a plane 48 hours before and started and pressed the living bejesus out of the Mexico back line and was causing tears. And now we still have guys like Joe David, Kyle Larin, Alfonso Davies are thrown into that mix on top of the other guys. It is a really exciting time. So I'll leave it at that, but no, we're excited. We're confident. We're excited to play that.
You should be. What's it like? And a couple more for you, and I'll let you go. And again, thanks so much for your time. What's it like? Take us in those circles. So you just mentioned some of those senior players there. You're in Haiti and you do it. You qualify, and Milan Borjan has you in that circle and he's talking to you as a group. Then you're at the Gold Cup and Mexico, an absolute gut punch 99th minute winner after you guys perform so well. And then you're in that circle and it's the other way. What's that like in two big moments of positivity and real difficult times together as a group? What's it feel like for you and your journey that you've had to be with amongst that and in that circle and play a pivotal part?
Well, I think that first circle, the one after Haiti, was Milan, I mean, you could just tell. I think that's when it really clicked for us young guys how much this means to the older group that have never really reached this pinnacle before yet. That for us, I mean, me as a young guy, I was like, yeah, we should go and beat Haiti. Why shouldn't we beat Haiti? Like, there's no reason why we shouldn't make the octagon. But then you really look back in the history, it's like, man, you know what? That's been a difficult thing to accomplish. It's not an easy task. But at the same time, us young group are kind of like, almost like we took it for granted a little bit. Like, yeah, no, we should beat these guys. Like, obviously we have to perform, but we should. There's no reason why we shouldn't beat them. And then to see the emotion that kind of poured out, like, wow, what a big achievement this was. It kind of really put things into perspective. And then that Gold Cup circle after the Mexico game, I think it was more just kind of we were frustrated, obviously, with the loss. But at the same time, it's like we were proud because we left it all out there. And we knew, we could sense it within that Mexican team that, okay, this isn't the same Canadian team that we were used to. This isn't going to be a walk in the park when we have to go up to BMO or anything like that. You could tell that they sense a little bit of fear and they thought we were going to roll over. But this is a different Canadian team that they're used to. And I think just earning that respect amongst CONCACAF's elite was something that, we really had strived for. And that was something we wanted to show within the Gold Cup. Just that we belong. We're a top nation. And, in order to be one of those top CONCACAF powerhouses, you got to perform in those tournaments. And, that was something that we did. So I think that we gained a lot of respect, and there will be a lot more fear going into playing Canada than there probably has been in the past.
Yeah, amen to that. Last one for you. What do you feel when you sing "Oh Canada"? Do you think of people? Is it hard to not get emotional when your game's coming right after it? How is that balance of emotions?
I think that is probably the coolest feeling you can possibly have as a player. And it's something that John instilled in us right away. He said, hey, we're going to go out there. We're going to be locked in as brothers. We're going to wrap our arms around each other and we're going to sing that thing. Because there's nothing quite like that when you show up for an away game and you're belting out that anthem. That other team realizes, okay, we're in for something here. And, a lot of those guys who are kind of, they got the dual citizenship and, maybe have never stepped foot in the country and they don't even know the lyrics. And then you look over at Canada and we're belting out every single word. You can tell how much it means. It puts things in perspective for them too. So I think it's one of the coolest moments. I really do. Yeah, it gets you fired up. If you're not ready to go after that, I don't really know what to tell you at that point.
That's pretty special. And I imagine your parents, when they watched that, I'm sure you got a few messages afterwards and calls. They must have been so proud of you, mate. When you're out there.
Hey, they thought I was off key a little bit, which is true. Cause I had a French speaker on one, an English speaker. Once the French start doing their own, I'm trying to pivot between both, trying to do the chorus in French one, chorus in English the next. So it's always difficult, but no, yeah. I had quite a few videos of that sent to me. Like, wow, it's a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, so I guess you're not trying out for the voice or anything. You're fine.
No,
you know what I mean?
No.
I think you got a pretty good career carved out for yourself with this.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, listen, this has been an absolute fantastic chat for me. Fascinating insight into obviously a little bit more of your life and your path. Congratulations on what has been an unbelievable start to your professional career. And it is just that. Much more success to come. And I cannot wait to watch you out there for Canada again in these upcoming World Cup qualifiers. Again, Alistair, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Kristian. Appreciate it.
What an interview that was. What a special young man. You can see why so many of his teammates still think of him as being a lot older than he is. He's very wise, as you can tell, already got a great head on his shoulders and clearly comes from a wonderful family. It's a real credit to them that they have brought him up the way that they have. And obviously their love for football in there. What a story that was when he talked about John Herdman giving him the phone call and asking him if you've ever tried playing as a centre-back in a back three, and Alistair kind of dodging it and kind of hoping that he can talk his way through it. And then using César Azpilicueta as an example of that under Thomas Tuchel and the way they played their back three in interchanging with Reece James. So many great stories, a fascinating interview. And again, getting to know these players, it's all part of this Beyond the Pitch interview series where when you see him play on Thursday, and hopefully you'll be there at BMO, and if not, you'll be watching live on OneSoccer, you'll understand it. The other thing too is you may well be listening to this or watching this interview after the games have happened. And as usual, these interviews really stand the test of time. You can see the real camaraderie that exists in this camp. it's real, it's genuine, and Alistair there just speaks from the heart. And again, massive thanks to Alistair as he joined me just before he joined this camp while he was in Nashville. I hope you're enjoying this series. We'll continue tomorrow, Wednesday, as we get to sit down with another interviewee for the Canadian men's national team. And let me tell you this, the Alistair Johnston one was good. This one is just as good. Jonathan Osorio from Toronto FC, and what a football mind this man has got. He opens up a lot about his influences on and off the pitch and what it's like to play for John Herdman under this current regime. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Continue to enjoy the games. God bless everybody. Take care of yourself, and I'll chat with you soon.